Now, Iran has reportedly identified the person who disrupted the flow of power at the Natanz nuclear facility, causing a blackout there. Iranian media cited intelligence sources saying all necessary measures are underway to arrest the person who caused the blackout at the nuclear plant on Sunday. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif has accused Israel of the incident, pledging that Iran will take revenge. Zarif was cited by media saying that Israelis think that this way they can revenge the success made in the recent talks aimed at reviving the Iran nuclear deal. However, he said that they will get their answer in more nuclear advancements. The foreign ministry has also condemned the Israeli sabotage as an act of nuclear terrorism.
What happened in Natanz was a bold act of nuclear terrorism on Iranian soil. There has been no casualty or contamination reported, but it could very much resulted in a catastrophic situation. So it can be considered under the category of crimes against humanity, which the Israeli regime has been doing that for many years now.
The official said that Iran reserves all rights to respond to the attack and has started communications with international authorities in that regard. Khatibzadeh stressed that the incident at Natanz won't slow down Iran's nuclear program. Instead, it'll speed the country's nuclear advancement. He said that damaged IR-1 centrifuges will be replaced with more advanced ones. Also, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Ali Akbar Salahi, said that the incident has not caused any disruption to the enrichment process at Natanz. Emergency power is provided to the facility. Let's now discuss this a little bit and shed some more light on different aspects of it. So joining me will be a couple of guests. We'll have Elijah Magnier, journalist and political analyst out of Brussels. We'll also be joined by Sayyid Mohsen Abbas, who's a journalist and political commentator out of London. Well, it's good to have both of you on the show, gentlemen. Elijah, you have been watching this, and this is not the first time that Israel is doing such things. And we also had recently the Tel Aviv regime officials openly threatening to do such things. And there you go. We have this. Let's have your comments on that.
No, it is not the first time. You're absolutely right. And if we look only in the past couple of weeks, Israel bombed Syria and claimed to have bombed facilities of Iranian advisor in the country. They also caused damage to a ship in the Red Sea. And now we see one of the most serious attempts to cause radioactive consequences in the country against the cyber attack against Natanz. And all that, it is really clear that the Israelis are trying their best to drag Iran into retaliation. They desperately want Iran to respond and drag Iran into a war. But Israel is not alone. Although we can see from the Americans that the leak of the information is starting from the American media quoting American officials, it means that the Israelis are asking the Americans and they're getting their approval. And the Americans are also responsible because they approve these attacks. That also lead us to understand that the Americans are also benefiting from these attacks by saying to the Iranian, we can put on the table of negotiation the stopping of all the Israeli attacks if you want to include other than the nuclear deal. But this is not going to work because Iran made it very clear that we talk only about the nuclear deal, and you show your full compliance, and then we can also show ours. Israel is trying to drag Iran to a war. Iran is not responding with a war, but it has the right to retaliate whenever it is suitable for Iran in the time of place.
Exactly, and Iran has made it clear that it has the right to revenge, but it's now responding for now with further equipping the facility and going on with the operations. Now, Sayyid Mohsen Abbas, how do you look at this also, and what does it have to do with this recent visit of the U.S. Secretary of Defense to Tel Aviv? They've been also meeting yesterday and today.
That's right. Netanyahu's meeting with the U.S. Defense Secretary Austin is the first highest level, well, is the highest level visit of an American establishment person into that country. So that's very significant that it's timed with that. It's also significant that you've got the Vienna talks that have just tried to restart the possibility of breaking the impasse. So it's obviously part of a process in which the Americans and the Israelis are trying to destabilize any chances of Iranian sanctions, etc., really being lifted, the American sanctions on Iran, for instance. But as far as the actual incident goes regarding the Natanz, well, we know that in July 2010, there was a fire that, sorry, it was July 2020, the fire actually broke out in Natanz. So it's not the first time that they've attacked Natanz. They've also had the Stuxnet, which I was going to mention, for 2010. The Stuxnet's cyber warfare attack, which was one of the first public kind of, if you like, revelations of this kind of warfare. So, yeah, I mean, they're using every trick in the book at the moment, the Israelis, to try and destabilize Iran, to try and cow it into submission. Of course, the negotiations haven't even started on the nuclear weapons, so the programs which the Israelis have. Nobody's ever decided that they want to talk about Israel and its kind of nuclear facilities, its development of nuclear weapons. And this is a major issue that even in the JCPOA, if Iran desired, it could have raised all of these issues and said, look, we're not going to have any deal unless our major protagonist in the area, the major protagonist of all free people in the Middle East, is tackled with its 400+ nuclear weapons, pointing largely at Iran and the resistance these days. So, look, the Israeli games are ultimately going to be futile. They are terrorist actions. They are acts of desperation. And, this nuclear terrorism is just the latest round of showing that desperation. And it also shows how careless they are about world peace, because, of course, any nuclear war that kicks off, or any nuclear action that kicks off in the region, or any ballistic missile action that kicks off in the region, will be catastrophic for the entire world, not just Israel or Iran.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Elijah Magnew, journalist and political analyst, joined us from Brussels, and Said Mohsen Abbas, journalist and political commentator, out of London with our comments and insight.